Interpersonal communication is between two people and how they interact with one another. Communication involves listening and understanding the client's needs. Listening is crucial in the helper and client process. By listening to clients' needs, the helper will know the entire story. To communicate effectively, the helper must present good verbal communication as well as nonverbal communication. The helper must show empathy and sympathy. The helper will not pass judgment and respect the client's needs and decisions. The helper will show interest and minimize distractions and barriers. The following is a case study. The assignment is to write a 700 to 1,050 word response to your client that demonstrates positive regard, empathy, and listening skills. The following is a case study. A client comes to your office without an appointment. The client, a 40-year-old female, has been working to gain custody of her two school-age children. She is visibly upset, crying and yelling on her phone. She enters your office indicating the court hearing for her children has been rescheduled due to her missing an important home visit. She has asked you to contact the courts to advocate on her behalf. Although this is outside the realm of your role, you would like to show the client you are interested in supporting her concerns. A helper must have unconditional positive regard to effectively help a client. Unconditional positive regard was used by psychologist Carl Rogers to describe a technique for client-centered therapy. Per Cherry, according to Rogers, unconditional positive regard involves showing complete support and acceptance of a person no matter what that person says or does. Positive regard means that we do not judge the client based on their beliefs or their past mistakes. We accept the client as who they are and empathize and sympathize with the client. Positive regard is not always easy to do in every situation, especially when a helper has strong beliefs about a certain topic. Empathy involves the ability to emotionally understand what another person is experiencing. Essentially, it is putting you in someone else's position and feeling what they must be feeling. To be empathetic towards clients, a helper must not pass judgment or be biased. Empathy is seeing things in another person's perspective. By seeing things in another person's perspective, helpers understand others and their needs. Listening skills is the key component in the client and helper relationship. If a helper talks more than 5 to 10% of the time, that is too much talking. Listening skills is when a helper is fully engaged in the conversation. Active listening is when the helper does not have distraction. Active listening is when the helper is giving their full attention to the client. Some distractions of not active listening would be thinking of all the work piled up on your desk or wanting to interrupt the client to give some advice or input. Poor eye contact, fidgeting, and posture are examples of not active listening. Note-taking is important. It is important to tell the client the reason and purpose for taking notes. A helper should write keywords down in lieu of writing down everything the client says. This will take away from the helper actively listening. By taking detailed notes, the helper will not hear everything the client is saying to the helper. The woman in the above case study comes to the office visibly upset because she is having trouble regaining custody of her two small children. She is asking the helper to contact the courts to advocate on her behalf. This is not the helper's role. As a helper, I would take the woman to a private room out of earshot. I would introduce myself and ask her for a glass of water or a cup of coffee. I would use a calming low tone when talking to her. I would make good eye contact and ask her to sit down and tell the story. I would sit across from her approximately 5 feet from the client. I would not cross my legs and try not to appear nervous. I would ask the woman if I could jot down some notes so I can effectively help her. I will listen to her story and would not interrupt. I would nod and give facial expressions to let my client know I am listening. When I do speak, I will ask open-ended questions. I will try to put myself in her shoes and feel what she is feeling. I will ask her what she would like to see happen. I would explain my role in the agency and explain what I would be able to do for her. I would explain that I am not able to contact the courts for her, but will give her other options and resources to pursue. I would reiterate that I will help her as best as I can. Each situation is different. Tone of voice plays an important role in a client and helper relationship. If a client is upset, the helper's voice should not be raised and the helper should not look upset. A calming voice is the best in this type of situation. To reiterate, interpersonal communication is between two people and how they interact with one another. Communication involves listening and understanding the client's needs. Listening is crucial in the helper-client process.